Hey everyone, Mr. DeLong here again to give you another short tutorial on how you can use Pages to help yourself write a better, stronger essay. This video is to teach you how to turn your MLA formatted outline in Pages into a rough draft using the exact same thing you used to set up your outline. So, as you can see here, I have part of a sample outline. It ends after the second or the first body paragraph. And it's all set up to MLA formatting. This is actually a former student example. I just cut a piece off of it. And to change this outline, which is in perfect MLA formatting, into a rough draft, we actually need to do something that's going to seem like we're taking a step backward. Once you've had your outline okayed, you need to do a select of each one of your different outline headings, and then you're going to tap the paintbrush up here in the top right, and you're going to actually remove that bulletin list from Harvard to none. And it's going to collapse everything over to the left because your justification is set that way. So the best way that I've found to keep track of that is every time you collapse one of these Roman numerals, tap on the tab button right there in the middle. It will automatically indent the first part of your paragraph over, and you're going to be set and on track for the next one. So as you can see, we now have the thesis statement already indented, ready to go, ready for us to fill in this before part, the part that precedes the thesis. And now I'm just going to go through the rest of this short paragraph, wrong button, and I'm going to remove that bulleted formatting to none. I'm going to remember, because that's my topic sentence, I'm going to tap on the tab button again so that I remind myself that's where my first body paragraph starts, as you can see that. I'm going to do the same thing for every other part of this outline, but before I just collapse it all and hit tab again, I've got to do something a little bit different this time. So I'm just going to take out the rest of this paragraph's formatting, and it's going to look a little bit time consuming. If you've written a long outline, it might be. But if you've written a long outline, it's actually going to make your writing of the rough draft go a lot faster. Last one here, into none. Okay, I'm going to collapse my keyboard now, so it's going to look a little weird. But if you think about it, this section right here, from in July 2011 until Fun It All, that is actually going to be our first body paragraph. And all you need to do once you've collapsed out all of that formatting for the outline is hit delete until you've put it into a moderately paragraph-shaped chunk of text. So I'm just hitting delete here, I'm hitting space so that I can make it look like a paragraph. Now it's not a perfect paragraph, it's too short for one thing, which is what the next step of writing a rough draft is. Read through this with me, and I'm just going to fill out and flesh out some details here. So in July 2011, my dad got the interview paper from the Vietnamese consulate, and the rest was a whirlwind. We needed to get our health checked at the hospital. Vaccination stung like wasp stings. Okay, so from we until wasp stings, I know there's going to need to be some details fleshed out there. So I'm just going to take a look at this first clause. We needed to get our health checked at the hospital. And I'm going to say we need to either end that as a paragraph or end that as a sentence, or I need to add more detail. I think that's fine, so I'm just going to hit period. I then can have either a separate sentence that says vaccination stung like wasp stings, or I can add more detail to it. We also have "it'll be okay, dear," the nurse said. We just need to fill in the details and the gaps here. So we need to get our health checked at the hospital. I'm going to put in here, I remember that the vaccinations stung like wasp stings. That's a fine sentence. I then have a piece of dialogue, and I need to figure out a way to introduce that dialogue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just set up some little piece of detail here so that I can have the nurse be a character in this. I'm going to say the nurse was very reassuring. Oops. And she told me She told me that it'll be okay, dear. I then can get rid of this part here where it says the nurse said, and I can actually end that sentence, quotation. I've got this section here where it says everything was on track but we got lost in the airport. I feel like more details needed here. So just to remind myself, I'm going to hit return and add more detail, or leave a note for myself to add more detail. Mores. Add more detail. Throughout the rest of the time you're working on turning this outline into your rough draft, you're going to find these areas where you need to add more detail. I like to make notes for myself. I usually try to highlight them so that I don't forget them. And you can choose to do that, or you can simply change the font color. Once you have your entire outline collapsed and you have all of your paragraphs in line, indented, and enough detail, you are ready to move on to having your rough draft edited. Before you do that, make sure you check in with me and make sure you have your rough draft edited before moving on to anything else. Hope you enjoyed this, and if you need more help, feel free to check in with me or feel free to check in with anyone else in your class.